You can tell a lot about a man by the way he holds himself. Marcus Aurelius didn't say this directly, but he lived it. Stoics mastered the art of presence without performance. In a world full of noise, they understood that true power is quiet and grounded. Women notice everything, not just what you say, but how you carry yourself, how you dress, and how you move through the world. In this video, you're going to learn the 7 things women always notice about men. Watch until the end, because each point builds on the last. And if you find value here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment with your own story or experience. Let's get into it. Chapter 1: Physical Appearance. The first thing a woman will always notice about a man is his physical appearance. This doesn't mean she's scanning for perfection or expecting you to look like a Calvin Klein model. It's not about having a chiseled jawline, flawless skin, or six-pack abs. What she's really paying attention to, almost unconsciously, is the effort. The way you take care of yourself is a mirror of how much you respect yourself. And respect is the foundation of attraction. Are your clothes clean, well-fitted, and appropriate for the setting? Do you smell fresh, like someone who pays attention to hygiene? Is your haircut intentional or just neglected? Are your teeth clean and your breath under control? Are your shoes taken care of, your nails clipped, your posture upright? These might sound like small details, but they aren't. These are the first impressions that speak volumes. They are the nonverbal cues that women read in seconds, and once that impression is made, it's nearly impossible to reverse. The Stoics believed in simplicity, but not in sloppiness. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of rising each day with clarity and purpose, taking care of the body as a duty, not for vanity, but for function and presence. According to Stoic thinking, external order is a direct reflection of internal discipline. If your appearance is careless, it suggests your mind is too. If you can't manage what's in the mirror, how are you going to manage your life, your goals, or your relationships? When you look put together, you're sending a very specific message to the world. You're showing that you have standards, that you pay attention, that you understand structure, that you have enough self-awareness to prepare yourself before showing up. Women are biologically and socially tuned to notice these things immediately. They don't need to analyze it, it's instinctual. And once they've read those signals, they'll place you into one of 2 categories: a man who commands respect or a man who's still figuring out how to respect himself. If you show up disheveled, wrinkled shirt, greasy hair, bad breath, and scuffed shoes, it doesn't matter what your intentions are. It doesn't matter if you have a brilliant personality underneath. You've already failed the first and most basic test, self-respect. You've communicated through your negligence that you don't care enough. And if you don't care enough about yourself, why should anyone else? Physical appearance is not about narcissism. It's not about showing off. It's about showing up ready. Presentation is not vanity. It's communication. It tells the world, and her, who you are before you even open your mouth. A clean, deliberate appearance tells her you're aware, focused, and in control. And control, especially self-control, is one of the most attractive traits a man can possess. Looking sharp doesn't require money. It requires standards. It means choosing clothes that fit your frame, taking the time to iron them, grooming your beard or shaving clean, and carrying yourself with intention. It's about understanding that you don't have to be the best-looking guy in the room. You just have to look like you give a damn. Because when a man clearly takes pride in how he presents himself, that energy speaks louder than words, and women hear it loud and clear. Chapter 2: Effort. Effort is one of the clearest indicators of a man's value, and women pick up on it fast. This isn't just about the energy you put into pursuing them. It's about the way you treat your life. Every action you take or don't take tells a story. Do you make your bed? Do you show up to work like a professional, even when no one's watching? Do you eat like someone who respects his own body and has a vision for himself? Effort shows up in everything. In your grooming, your posture, your punctuality. In your tone of voice. In the way you move through the world. It's in how you carry yourself, how you talk to strangers, how you react under pressure. And women are wired to detect it. Not just consciously, but instinctively. They can feel the difference between a man who's actively shaping his life and one who's simply coasting on autopilot. The Stoics were obsessed with the concept of daily improvement. They believed that virtue wasn't something you claimed, it was something you earned through discipline and action. They didn't believe in staying stagnant or being passive in the face of life. They believed in sharpening the mind, controlling the body, and practicing self-mastery every single day. And that mindset? It's incredibly attractive. A man who is improving himself without needing to broadcast it is magnetic. He's not looking for applause because his growth is internal. And that's exactly why women notice. They sense when you live with intention, when your actions are deliberate, when your words are measured, when your energy isn't scattered or chaotic. They pay attention to whether you've taken time to grow emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Because those things are rare. And they signal strength on a level most men will never understand. Even if she can't verbalize it, a woman can feel the difference between a man who is moving forward in life and one who is just drifting. She can see when you've put care into your appearance, your health, your environment. She'll notice if your place is clean, if your shoes are worn out, if you've neglected the small details. Because the details reveal your standards, and a man's standards say everything about how he sees himself. Sloppiness is not masculine. It's not chill. It's not confident. It's a sign that you've given up on controlling the few things you actually can. And to a woman, that communicates weakness more than anything else. A man who doesn't put effort into his own life cannot be trusted to show up for anyone else. But a man who does, a man who pushes himself, holds himself to a standard, and stays disciplined even when it's hard, that man radiates respect. Not just for others, but for himself. And that self-respect is something a woman will always feel, even if no words are spoken. Chapter 3. Confidence. Confidence is not something you can fake. Women notice it the moment you walk into a room. It's in your posture, your gait, the steadiness of your eye contact. It's in how you shake hands, how you sit, how you breathe, and how you stand in silence. Confidence radiates from the way you enter a space, not rushed, not hesitant, but assured. Most men confuse arrogance for confidence. They puff their chests, raise their voices, interrupt others just to be heard. But that's not strength. That's compensation. Real confidence is calm. It doesn't seek validation because it doesn't need it. It doesn't chase attention because it understands its own worth. Stoicism teaches that confidence comes from inner alignment, from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and refusing to be shaken by external noise. A man who is at peace with himself doesn't need to announce it. He lets his presence speak for him. And that presence, quiet, grounded, assured, is what women notice instantly. It's not about being the loudest guy in the room. It's about being the most centered. A confident man doesn't apologize for existing. He doesn't shrink himself to make others comfortable, and he doesn't exaggerate his achievements to impress. He takes up space physically, emotionally, energetically, without guilt. He's not reckless, but he's firm. He knows his limits. He knows what he wants. And just as importantly, he knows what he won't tolerate. Confidence is not just attractive. It's intoxicating. It's what makes women lean in when you speak and tune in when you're quiet. It's what makes them remember you even after you've left the room. Because confidence isn't just about how you talk or how you walk, it's about how you carry your truth. It's the steadiness in your voice when everyone else is uncertain. It's your ability to say no without flinching, to stay composed under pressure, and to keep your word even when it's inconvenient. The Stoic man doesn't brag, and he doesn't beg. He simply is. And that kind of quiet, self-assured energy is rare. It doesn't just make a woman feel safe, it makes her respect you. Because deep down, every woman knows the man who's confident in himself will never need to control her. He doesn't need to win her. He already owns himself, and that's more powerful than anything you could ever say out loud. Chapter 4. Discipline. Discipline is one of the rarest and most attractive qualities a man can possess. And women notice it faster than you think. It's not something you need to announce. It doesn't require flexing or talking yourself up. Discipline reveals itself in the way you move, in the way you eat, the way you speak, and even in the silence between your words. It shows up in your body, your posture, your schedule, your lifestyle, and most importantly, in your attitude. Women are wired to detect structure. They can feel whether you're led by order or consumed by chaos. And the man who radiates control over himself stands out instantly. A disciplined man wakes up with purpose. Not because he has to, but because he chooses to. He doesn't snooze the alarm 10 times. He doesn't scroll for hours or fill his day with nonsense. He knows what needs to be done, and he does it. Not because it's always enjoyable, but because it builds something deeper, trust in himself. He doesn't negotiate with his weaknesses. He doesn't chase dopamine every chance he gets. He trains his body with intention. He sharpens his mind. And he develops the ability to delay gratification, not because he's boring, but because he's building something bigger than short-term pleasure. When you're disciplined, you become stable. You become anchored in a world that's constantly pulling people in every direction. You become the calm in the storm, the man who can handle pressure, who can say no when it counts, and who doesn't need to be babysat to do what's right. You become the opposite of chaos. And that kind of energy? It's rare. It's magnetic. Women feel it. They notice when you're consistent with your routines, your goals, and your character. They see it in the little things, how you carry yourself, how you speak about your mission, and how you treat your time. Stoics believed that self-mastery was the foundation of real freedom. And they were right. Because the man who can rule himself doesn't need to rule others. He doesn't need to dominate or control the world around him. He becomes trustworthy by default. If he says he's going to do something, he follows through, whether anyone's watching or not. That's real power. That's what separates men who lead from men who follow their impulses blindly. A Stoic doesn't depend on motivation. He depends on principle. And that kind of man creates stability not just for himself, but for everyone around him. Women pay close attention to this. You might think they only notice your looks or your money, but they notice far more than that. They watch whether you follow through. If you say you're going to work out, are you actually putting in the representatives? If you claim to value growth, are you studying, reading, learning, or just talking about it? They see when your actions align with your words. And when they do, that alignment creates instant respect. They don't need you to be perfect, but they do need you to be consistent. They want to know you can be trusted, not just with them, but with yourself. Because here's the hard truth, a man with no discipline is seen as unstable. He's unreliable. He says one thing and does another. He chases pleasure, avoids discomfort, and collapses under pressure. And deep down, women know that kind of man can't handle life when it gets real. But a man with discipline? He's different. He's the one who shows up even when it's hard. He's the one who doesn't need to be rescued. He's the one who doesn't flinch when things get uncomfortable. That kind of man is seen as strong, as mature, as grounded. Discipline doesn't mean you become rigid or robotic. It doesn't mean you never enjoy life. It means you know when to say yes and when to say no. It means you've built a backbone out of values, not whims. You do what needs to be done, even when no one's clapping. And that internal structure bleeds into everything you do, from how you treat women to how you handle business, money, conflict, and emotion. It tells her, this man isn't impulsive. He isn't ruled by urges. He's already faced his inner chaos and won. The Stoics didn't chase perfection, and neither should you. Discipline isn't about being flawless. It's about showing up again and again and again. It's about building a track record with yourself. Every time you make a promise and keep it, you stack trust. Every time you choose action over excuses, you build integrity. And when you do that consistently, people, especially women, feel it. It's in your presence. It's in your stillness. It's in the way you don't need validation because you've already proven who you are to the one person that matters most, yourself. You don't need to brag about your discipline. It will show. In your health. In your voice. In your eyes. It's in the way you say no to distractions, yes to growth, and stay the course when life tests you. Because life will test you. And when that happens, discipline is what keeps you steady. It's the armor that protects your values. The compass that points you north. The foundation that makes everything else possible. So don't just chase attraction. Build the discipline that creates it without effort. The kind that doesn't need to be loud because it's undeniable. Be the man who walks the talk, not once, but every damn day. Because when a woman meets that kind of man, she knows exactly what he is. Rare. Chapter 5, Eye Contact. Eye contact is one of the most primal and revealing forms of human communication. It's older than language, more honest than words, and more potent than most men realize. For a woman, your eyes say everything she needs to know about you in just a second. They tell her if you're grounded or scattered, if you're confident or insecure, if you're hiding something or standing in your truth. That's why women pay such close attention to a man's eyes. Not just how they look, but how they move, how they linger, how they hold tension, and how they connect. The Stoics understood this. They believed that the eyes were the doorway to the soul. They didn't just say this as a poetic metaphor, they meant it. To meet someone's eyes without fear, without flinching, and without performance was a mark of inner discipline. It meant you were not escaping from yourself or from the present moment. To look someone in the eyes was to say, I am here. I am not afraid. I have nothing to hide. Most modern men avoid eye contact without even realizing it. They glance away, they look at their phones, they shift their focus when things feel vulnerable. But that avoidance is noticed. It might feel like protection, but it actually signals weakness. Avoiding eye contact tells her you don't want to be seen. And if you don't want to be seen, she wonders why. Is it guilt? Is it low self-worth? Is it fear of judgment? These are primal questions her brain asks in the background, automatically. Because eye contact is tied to survival. It's how humans historically judged threat, trust, power, and connection. A baby looks into its mother's eyes for comfort. A predator locks eyes with its prey before it attacks. A leader calms the room by meeting the eyes of his people. Eye contact speaks on levels that no language ever could. A Stoic man doesn't force eye contact, and he doesn't avoid it either. He lets it happen naturally, fully, without tension. He's not staring to intimidate. He's not darting his eyes around like a man with something to hide. He simply is. He looks her in the eye because he's not trying to escape himself. He's not afraid of what she'll see. In fact, he wants to be seen because he's taken the time to know who he is. He's done the inner work. He welcomes the silence between words and the gaze between souls. There is a very real difference between a stare and a gaze. A stare is mechanical, tense, almost threatening. It tries too hard. It's often used by men trying to act confident without actually feeling it. And women pick up on that immediately. They can feel when the energy behind your eyes is aggressive or empty. A gaze, however, is rooted. It's calm. It connects without demanding. It holds space. It invites her into the moment without pressure. It feels safe, even if it's intense. That's the kind of eye contact a Stoic man practices, not for seduction, but for truth. A man who can hold eye contact without needing to look away is rare. Not because he's trying to prove something, but because he simply doesn't need to run. He's not afraid of tension. He doesn't escape silence. He knows that true power comes from being completely present in the now, even when it feels uncomfortable. Especially when it feels uncomfortable. Because discomfort is where most men check out. But a Stoic man leans in. The eyes are also mirrors. If your mind is anxious, your eyes will show it. If your heart is unsettled, it will be visible. If you're lying, your pupils and body language will betray you. That's why eye contact is such a reliable indicator of authenticity. A man who lies with his words but can't match it with his gaze is instantly transparent. And a man who speaks with honesty but breaks eye contact as he speaks sends a mixed signal. Women notice that contrast. They won't always say something, but they'll feel it, and that feeling lingers. The strength of your eye contact doesn't come from forcing yourself to hold a stare. It comes from your nervous system. If you are calm on the inside, your eyes will be steady. If you are centered in your breath, your gaze will be grounded. It won't twitch. It won't bounce. It won't dart away the moment you feel seen. That's why eye contact isn't just about technique. It's about internal mastery. And the Stoics knew this deeply. They trained their inner world so they could face the outer world with clarity and strength. Women are drawn to this. They're drawn to a man who doesn't avert his gaze, who doesn't need to hide behind distractions. Because so few men can offer that kind of stillness. So few men can meet a woman's eyes and just be, without pushing, without shrinking, without needing to win or impress. And when she meets a man like that, even for a moment, it leaves an imprint. It doesn't mean you have to lock eyes all the time like you're in a movie. That would be unnatural. It just means you're not avoiding the connection. You're not running from presence. You're not afraid to be seen for who you really are. That kind of eye contact is felt instantly. It's memorable. And in a world where most men are either faking dominance or collapsing into insecurity, a calm, grounded gaze stands out more than anything else. So next time you're with a woman or with anyone, really, practice meeting their eyes fully. Don't rush it. Don't perform. Just breathe, be still, and look. Let your presence speak through your eyes. Let your honesty show. And remember, a man's eyes are not just windows, they're anchors. And when a woman feels the strength of your gaze, she's not just seeing you. She's feeling the entire energy of the man behind those eyes. Make it count. Chapter 6: Voice and Speech. Your voice is more than just sound, it's an extension of your presence. It's energy in motion. It carries the weight of your inner world, your confidence, your emotional state, your clarity, your values. Before a woman ever processes what you're saying, she feels how you're saying it. The tone, the rhythm, the pauses between your words, all of it is absorbed on a level that is deeper than logic. Is your voice rushed and erratic? Is it high-pitched or shaky, as if you're asking for permission to speak? Is it overly loud and aggressive, trying to prove something? Or is it calm, measured, grounded in authority, and unconcerned with impressing? This is what separates the reactive man from the Stoic man. A Stoic doesn't just speak, he chooses to speak. And that choice alone carries power. The Stoics of ancient times weren't loud men. They weren't performers. They didn't interrupt or dominate conversations to feel superior. Instead, they waited. They observed. And when they did speak, their words came from a place of deep thought, not impulsive emotion. This made people listen. Not because they shouted, but because their speech carried substance. A man's voice can either reveal chaos or control. The man who constantly fills the air with chatter, who can't handle silence, who talks fast to avoid discomfort, he isn't in control of himself. He's reacting. He's trying to prove his value with noise. Women instinctively sense this. When your voice lacks grounding, it signals fear. It signals a lack of certainty. Even if your words are interesting, they get drowned out by the energy of insecurity behind them. And women aren't drawn to anxiety. They're drawn to stability. Now imagine a different man. He speaks slowly, but not lazily. His words come with weight because he's not afraid of silence. He lets each sentence breathe. He doesn't rush. He doesn't try to fill every moment. He's not afraid to pause. In fact, he understands that the pause itself holds power. This kind of speech is captivating. It draws people in. Not because it's theatrical, but because it's real. It's rooted. It carries the full presence of the man speaking it. When a woman hears a voice like that, she listens not just with her ears, but with her attention. Because that voice isn't trying to win approval. It's simply expressing truth. A grounded voice doesn't need to fight for space. It owns the space. And that's what Stoicism teaches. Control of the self leads to influence over the environment. A powerful voice doesn't shout, it resonates. It makes people feel something, even if only a few words are spoken. This doesn't mean you need to lower your voice artificially or speak like an actor. It's not about mimicking a tone. It's about getting your inner state aligned first. Your voice is a reflection of your breath. Your breath is tied to your nervous system. If you are anxious, you will speak from your chest or throat, high, fast, and light. But if you're calm and grounded, you'll breathe deep, and your voice will naturally come from your diaphragm. It will sound fuller, slower, and more authoritative. The key is presence. The key is awareness. When you're fully present in a moment, your speech changes. You no longer feel the need to over-explain or overperform. You don't interrupt. You listen more. And when you do speak, your words have gravity. You speak as if your words matter, because they do. You respect the power of speech, so you don't waste it. And when a woman experiences this kind of voice, anchored in presence, rooted in calm, deliberate intention, it leaves an impression far deeper than anything flashy or clever could. This is not something you can fake. A man who tries to mimic confidence through vocal tricks still gets exposed. Women are too perceptive for that. They listen with their instincts. If your words don't match your energy, she'll feel it. That's why working on your voice starts with working on yourself. your mindset, your breathing, your emotional regulation, all of it feeds into your vocal presence. The Stoics spent their lives mastering this from the inside out. Their speech wasn't just persuasive, it was serene. It created space. It invited thought. It made people feel seen rather than overwhelmed. You may think your voice isn't something people notice much, but they do, especially women. It's one of the first things that cuts through the noise. It's not about having a deep voice, it's about having a truthful voice. A voice that matches the man you are. If you're uncertain, it shows. If you're at peace, it shows. If you believe in what you're saying, it shows. And that belief? That congruence between words and soul? That's what makes people want to listen. That's what makes women lean in. So speak less, but mean more. Let your silence be just as powerful as your sentences. Train yourself to slow down, to breathe deep, to speak only when it's worth speaking. Let every word carry a piece of your presence. And remember, when a woman hears your voice, she's not just hearing what you say, she's hearing who you are. Make sure the man behind the voice is one worth remembering. Chapter 7: Energy and Presence. Energy doesn't lie. It speaks before you open your mouth, before you even make eye contact. You can fake a confident posture, you can force a smile, you can dress in the most expensive suit, but if your internal energy is off, people will feel it. Especially women. Women are biologically and psychologically hardwired to read a man's energy. It's not just intuition, it's survival, attraction, and selection all wrapped into one. If you enter a room full of tension, resentment, self-doubt, or emotional chaos, you'll be signaling danger without realizing it. And trust this, women will pick it up immediately, even if you think you're hiding it well. But the opposite is also true. If you walk in calm, grounded, centered, if you carry an energy that is stable, composed, and locked into the present moment, you don't have to say a word. People will naturally gravitate toward you. And women, in particular, will feel a deep and unconscious pull toward your presence. Because it's not about being the loudest in the room, it's about being the most centered. That's what Stoicism teaches. The Stoics trained themselves to discipline not just their behaviors, but their emotional energy. They didn't let anger, fear, or desire take the wheel. They created a fortress of stillness inside themselves that no external storm could shake. This kind of inner stillness doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you've learned how to master what you feel so it doesn't master you. When a Stoic man enters a room, his presence alone tells a story. Here is a man who cannot be moved by noise. Here is a man who thinks before he speaks, who listens before he judges, who feels deeply but is not ruled by it. That presence is magnetic. And not just in romantic relationships, this kind of energy impacts your career, your friendships, your leadership, your entire life. Presence is not just about being in the same space physically. It's about actually being there. Not distracted. Not buried in your thoughts. Not rehearsing what you're going to say next. A present man observes. He listens. He engages with what's in front of him, fully. He doesn't fidget with his phone. He's not anxiously looking around the room. He's not chasing attention. He is attention. And this, again, is why women always notice. Because it's rare. Most men today are running on autopilot, chasing dopamine, stuck in their heads or scrolling their screens. But when a man shows up fully there, his presence cuts through the noise like a knife. The Stoics understood that energy is a reflection of discipline. They would rise early, tend to their duties, maintain their physical health, keep their emotions in check, and reflect daily. Why? Because that structure produced clarity. And clarity shapes energy. If your mind is scattered, your energy will be chaotic. But if your mind is ordered, your energy will feel calm and focused. This is why meditation, journaling, clean habits, and reflection aren't just the nice-to-haves, they are weapons. They are tools to sculpt the kind of energy that makes you unshakable. And there's one more element of energy that many overlook: how you make others feel in your presence. A Stoic man doesn't need to entertain, impress, or flatter. But he makes others feel seen. He makes them feel safe, not by being passive, but by being clear. His grounded presence creates space for others to be themselves. He doesn't compete for attention, he creates silence where truth can rise. This kind of emotional gravity doesn't just attract women, it keeps them. Because it's not about being exciting for a moment. It's about being unforgettable over time. To build this presence, start with awareness. Catch yourself when your energy slips, when you let impatience, resentment, insecurity, or distraction take over. Observe it without judgment, then realign. The more you practice presence, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll notice how people respond differently. They'll lean in when you speak. They'll feel calmer around you. They'll respect your space, even if you say little. Why? Because your energy speaks louder than your words ever could. In the end, energy and presence aren't tactics, they're consequences. They are the natural result of the man you've built through discipline, reflection, stillness, and purpose. And in a world where so many men are scattered, noisy, and reactive, the man who walks in peace will always be the most powerful one in the room. So remember this: you don't need to shout. You don't need to force. You don't even need to explain yourself. You just need to be deeply present. Because a man who is truly present brings with him a force that no one can fake and that no woman can ignore. A Stoic doesn't chase attention, he commands respect. And the truth is, women always notice. They notice how you dress, how you move, how you carry yourself when no one's watching. They notice your discipline, your confidence, your effort. Not because they're looking to judge, but because these traits reveal everything they need to know about the man standing in front of them. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be famous. But you do need to be intentional. These 7 traits, they're not tricks. They're reflections of who you are and who you're becoming. Every detail matters. And when you master these, you don't just become more attractive to women, you become more powerful as a man. Now, if this episode gave you clarity, insight, or even a gut check, then do the work. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your story in the comments. What's one thing you changed that women started noticing right away? Your journey as a Stoic man isn't about pleasing others, it's about rising above your former self. Let them notice that. Let them feel that. And keep becoming a man they can't ignore. Until next time, stay grounded, stay sharp, and never stop improving.